thought I'd survived the week's near disaster. That was optimistic. I woke up about an hour before the alarm sounded with the most wicked bad pain in my dominant thumb. I think it sprained. Even buttoning my shirt was monumental. If I can't prepare the food proficiently and safely, I'll have to rain check our guests. 9 o'clock will be my point of no return. It's about 5:30 on Sunday morning, and I have started the mise en place. I've already diced up the pancetta, and let's go ahead and thinly slice up the garlic. Our next task is to shell and devein the shrimp. So I've finished shelling these and deveining them. These are just beautiful. I've taken a half cup of the white wine. We're going to go ahead and put it in that bowl. And I've destemmed 2 rosemary sprigs. We're going to go ahead and add that to the wine. And the next step is to core and seed this tomato. And now we're going to go ahead and dice the tomatoes. This will go into the wine with the rosemary. Our next task is to cut the kale into 1/4-inch ribbons and soak them in an ice bath. A lot of people don't like kale because it's kind of bitter, but if you put it in here, it reduces a lot of the bitterness and brings out the sweetness. Working on the kale salad now, and I've grated the pecorino cheese and mixed it in with the garlic. And now we're going to mix in the remaining ingredients for that. And that includes salt, black pepper, red pepper, 6 tablespoons of olive oil, and the juice of 2 lemons. What we're going to do now is stuff these rabbits with the herbs and close them up with toothpicks. I believe that'll do it for those. Now we want to liberally salt and pepper these. I'm going to cover these up until it's time to cook them. I'm working on the components for the risotto now, and we're going to slice the onion. Chopped onions. Continuing on with the risotto, I have shaved about 3 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. And what we're going to do now is chop the parsley While off camera, I've completed some of the other mise en place tasks, including setting aside the arborio rice, putting some butter in with olive oil, butter with water, butter with grated Parmesan cheese, setting aside olive oil, and setting aside another half cup of white wine. And we're just about done with the mise en place. Okay, the bread's been in all night. It's time to get it out. they've risen nicely. Go ahead and put it in the oven. It's set at proofing temperature, and we'll let it sit. Since I'm a little bit ahead of the game, I thought I would prepare the dessert bowls. The mascarpone cream and the coulis. And top that, the raspberry coulis. Alright, it's time to start the rabbit. And what we're going to do first is heat 1/2 of the oil and butter we had set aside and fry the first rabbit. The butter is frothy now, so it's time to put in the first rabbit. We're going to fry these for about 4 minutes per side. The bread is out and cooling on a rack. It smells very good. The rabbit has been braising on the stove top, so it's time to put it in the oven. Oh yeah, that's looking good. And the oven is preheated, 350 degrees. And we're going to put this in there for 70 minutes. Turning to the bread, time to slice it up. You can see that my wife Marilyn and I ate half of a loaf, so it's pretty good. We're going to have this with both the dinner and with our appetizer, the shrimp. And there's the bread. And the guests are about an hour away from arriving now. All right, I'm about to start the risotto. I've got the chicken broth. The heat is on under that. And we're going to heat up the butter, medium low. We're going to go ahead and saute the onions, then we're going to add the rice, and then the butter is melted. So we're going to go ahead and saute the onions. The onions are nice and tender now. I'm going to turn up the heat to medium, and the chicken broth is boiling. I've turned that down a little bit. And now I'm going to add the rice to the onions. I'm going to stir that around for about a minute. Right now we're going to put 1.5 cups of the broth into the rice. We're going to bring that to boil. When it's absorbed, we'll add another cup of broth and continue doing that 1/2 cup at a time after that until all the broth is absorbed. moment we're going to start the shrimp. I'm going to heat the oil at medium-high heat for the pancetta. Then we're going to brown these, and then we're going to take them out, put in the garlic, and the shrimp, and the tomatoes. In goes the pancetta. Oh. This feast almost wasn't. I have no idea why I thought the party started at 5. I had originally scheduled it for 2 o'clock so that we could see our guest's toddler. No matter, we narrowly averted the first hosting disaster of the weekend. But after waking up at 4 o'clock a.m. Sunday with a strained thumb, I couldn't grip my coffee cup, let alone wield a chef's knife. Luckily, I'm one of those rare humans with 2 hands. Dinner preparations were slower and a lot uglier, but we fumbled our way through them. It was a dinner to remember. The shrimp was scrumptious, and half a loaf of the Sicilian bread was gone within half an hour after I pulled it out of the oven, and the Prosecco perfectly rounded out the appetizer course. The kale salad was surprisingly sweet, so the ice bath did its job. And the lemony pecorino cheese dressing overlaid that natural sweetness with an invigorating tang. This Barolo reminded me of a good Merlot, but with a firm bite, and it was very good with the rabbit. Our main course had a flavor-packed skin and tender herb-infused meat. And the side dish we served with the rabbit, Marilyn allowed as how it was the best risotto I've made to date. As for the dessert, one of our diners pronounced the mascarpone cream not just a best effort to date, but quite simply the best dessert she'd ever had. Granted, the grape spirits may have seized the guest by then, but I believe her point is that this is a dessert recipe you really must try. It's easy and, well, it's the best. And if you've ever been lucky enough to finish your Italian feasts with homemade limoncello, then you've finished well. Speaking of finishing well, my dinner guests bestowed 2 fine whiskeys on me. Woodford Reserve's Distiller's Select is a favorite treat of mine, and special dispensation was in order for the equally exceptional Irish whiskey. It's not bourbon, but no complaints here. Do subscribe to Bourbon Dinners if you'd be so kind, and give this episode a big thumbs up. You know, seeing as how I'm hurt and all and unable to do it myself. Oh yes, I am shameless.